Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and as I've said before many times, it might not be Thursday or morning for you, but whenever you're watching this, I hope that you're okay. Within the next day or two, those of us who live in England should know, as we come out of lockdown early next week, what tier we're going to be in. Each of the cities, each of the regions will find out where we're going to start in terms of restrictions and what those restrictions might continue to look like. So the next few days will be really telling in terms of how we think about our journey towards Christmas, which begins in the church's life this coming Sunday, on the first Sunday of Advent. But I wanted this morning to talk a bit about gold and about what is precious and what is valuable, and whether there's a difference between those. See, it'll be no surprise to those of you who know me or who've watched any of my videos that I get Sky at Night magazine by subscription. And I pretend to understand some of the articles that are deeply scientific or about the ways of doing astrophotography that I'm not interested in. But there was this little intriguing article in the News in Brief section this month. Well, it's for December, so I'm even reading it too early. But it's titled Earth's Gold Problem. Earth has too much gold. The element is normally created in the hearts of large stars, but there aren't enough nearby to explain Earth's rich veins of gold. A new study found even exotic gold creation methods involving neutron stars or black holes couldn't make up for the shortfall, begging the question, where does all this gold come from? Gold is a fascinating metal. It's inert, it doesn't react chemically with almost anything else. It's very durable, it's very malleable, it's very shapeable, it's very conductive. It has all kinds of properties that make it incredibly valuable in science, in technology, in electronics, even in medicine. Certainly in space exploration, gold is a really important part of making sure that some of the satellites and exploration vehicles that we've sent into our solar system and beyond actually last as long as we would like them to, and even longer. But gold isn't primarily valuable because it's useful. It's valuable because it's precious. Or it's precious more than it's valuable. And about half the world's gold production, half the world's gold reserves, apart from gold bullion, gets used to make jewelry. And jewelry is pretty. And jewelry is meaningful because it speaks of relationship, and it is about marking our lives in relationship to other people. Often it's precious in that way. It's precious. And gold is called a precious metal, in the same way that diamonds are precious stones, amongst others. And diamonds have unique properties that make them very useful as abrasives in fields where cutting is needed. The scholarship I had in South Africa to study engineering was from De Beers Industrial Diamonds. Not so much mining the diamonds, but actually creating in the most extraordinary sort of mini volcanoes using massive amounts of electricity in massive steel presses, creating artificial diamonds to be used in the abrasive industry for cutting and polishing and for technology. But diamonds are also pretty, which makes them precious. I don't want to labor the point this morning or be pedantic about the difference between what makes something precious or valuable. But there is a difference often. Because the things that are precious to us, in the way that gold or diamonds are precious to us as pieces of jewelry or as pretty things, that's not substantial. That's not as substantial as asking what makes them valuable. What makes them a really important contribution, part of our society as we know it, and part of our technology and part of our infrastructure. See, one of the things that happens at some point in each of our lives, or should, and we ridicule it with words like a midlife crisis, and often those words are used in a denigrating way, as though this is some kind of sort of last hissy fit at no longer being young. But one of the things that should happen to all of us, at least once in our lives, is that the things that have been precious and valuable to us, both, they stop being that. And whether it is because we have worked hard to attain things and then discover in the attaining of them that they don't mean nearly as much as we might have thought. We strive to be successful in some way, and that success doesn't bring us the happiness we think it might. We discover the darkness within ourselves, and we lose the ability to play games with ourselves quite so much. We go into periods of disconnection from the things that have been our solid standing places and the sustaining things in our lives. That's a good and important thing to happen. It's not pleasant, but it's really important for all of us to go through, at least once in our lives, a period of disconnection, of dissonance, of struggle to know who we are and what has meaning in our lives. Essentially, what is really valuable. Because the things that we've counted as precious actually are far less substantial than we might have thought. I wonder if that's happening for you through this coronavirus experience. It's certainly happening in our church's life, across the whole of the Methodist Church, and I would imagine every worshipping community in the world, where what we don't have are the things that we have previously deemed precious, or that we would love to have back because they're precious to us. And some of those things are the singing of hymns, the drinking of cups of tea and having the chats. And I don't trivialize any of these things, but they are Holy Communion. I mean, they are acts of worship that are really precious to us, that are part of helping us to know who we are and who we connected to. But that we have to at least ask the question: Are they really the valuable things in the kingdom of God? Are they really the first things that God might be asking us to make precious, to grab hold of and to express and to take up as we come out of lockdown, whenever that will be? Still a long way to go. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm still thinking about it in my own mind, the difference between things that are precious and things that are valuable. But I'm also reading quite a lot of books at the moment, which I'm glad to have the time to do. And I'm reading some books by a man called Belden Lane, who uses the physical experience of spending time in the wilderness, along with the writings of historical Christian figures, through all of church history, to make some really important observations about our experience. And I was reading a chapter continuing in a chapter just this morning, along this, having decided to talk about this already, looking at the life of John of the Cross, who was a Carmelite friar in the 16th century, who perhaps shepherded us most clearly first into this idea of the dark night of the soul, the moment, the time, the journey into disconnect. He talked about a night of the senses. He talked about a real sense of being lost and abandoned by God, by the things that previously have been clear and mediated in loud voices to us, who we are. And he says this as part of a reflection on John of the Cross's writings. Initially, John says, one might experience a sense of assurance and attainment in following a spiritual practice. There are joys to be had in a world full of good things. Every creature is a trace of God's passing. Yet contentment may gradually turn these gifts into ends in themselves, attractions in their own right. As time goes on, and he quotes, small attachments become great. You run the risk of becoming as little as the things you've learned to love. You run the risk of becoming as little as the things you've learned to love. So if you're part of the Methodist Church's life in Haxby and Wigginton, or if you're part of a faith commitment community in any way at all, there is a real question there for us about what is precious and what is valuable and what the difference is. You see, it may just be that we have for a long time been running the risk of, as he says, becoming as little as the things we've learned to love. That the things we love that are part of being a church's life are not necessarily the valuable things, the enduring things. the things that actually make the world a little more into the kingdom of God than it already is. The world doesn't rise or fall on whether Christians are in churches on Sunday singing hymns. It doesn't rise and fall on many of the things that we might count as very precious, really important, and it's not that they aren't, but are they really the valuable things? And for all of us, as we think about the world we live in, as we think about what we've counted as precious, what we've assumed to be right and good, and the things we've come to love, in our freedoms, in our democracy, in our politics, in our economics especially, in the ways that we take our place in the world as a wealthy country, that we've kind of come to love the things that are already there, which have become precious because we've made them so. And it may just be that what is really valuable moving forward, spiritually, economically, relationally, culturally, socially, in our communities, in our families, in ourselves, towards each other, in our faith, the things that have been precious are in danger of keeping us small rather than helping us to grow large in love. So I'll leave those thoughts with you today. Yes, we live with the mystery of too much gold in the world. We don't know where it comes from. It's not just pretty. We think about diamonds. We think about their beauty, what makes them precious, but that's not what makes them useful. And we ask what it means to tell the difference and discern the difference, and keep trying to think about what the difference might be between that which is precious and that which is valuable. See you on Sunday, if you want to, for some reflections on the gospel. Or in fact, I won't be doing that this Sunday, but I'll be back on Monday with some thoughts then about the beginning of next week as we contemplate coming out of lockdown. I hope you have a good weekend. God bless.